Hey, this is Mr. Hanson. I've got kind of a busy screen in front of you, and hopefully you're recognizing some of the stuff from the previous video in this series on categorical variables. Let me just kind of review some of that stuff with you, and I'll be marking in my marker in pink so that you can follow as we move along here. So, first of all, we had a survey in which two questions were asked. One, what's your gender, boy or girl? And then finally, what do you prefer, dogs or cats? And we're trying to kind of tease out this idea of maybe boys like dogs more than everyone else, or maybe they don't, or maybe girls like dogs or cats more than everyone else, or maybe it really doesn't matter if you're boy or girl. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And in the first video series, we built this frequency table right here. And we had some rows and some columns to help us build that. So out of 160 people surveyed, that was the total right there. 20 of them were boys who like cats, 40 were boys who like dogs, and 60 of them were boys. And you could also say 20 of them, let's do this, we'll go in a column now. 20 of them were cat lovers who were boys, and 40 of them were cat lovers who were girls, and 60 of them were just cat lovers out of the 160. Another way to show this was using a Venn diagram. So that's kind of what we did here. There was a total of 160 people. We did boys and cats. So in the boys circle, you have the 40 is the boys that don't like cats. It's dogs. So boys and dogs is the 40. Here's boys and cats. And then you had 40 that are cats but not boys, and then 60 that are cats. Yeah. Okay, getting all flustered here. Let's try this one more time. You had a total of 160 people in all, and of those 160, 20 of them were boys who liked cats. Right here, it goes right with that. 40 of them were boys who liked dogs. Right here, and so that 20 plus 40 is 60 for all of the boys. Now girls, we had 40 of them were girls who liked cats, and 60 of them were girls who did not like cats but liked dogs. And that 40 plus 60 there is 100 girls in all. So these two numbers count for the girls. So hopefully that helps you understand that a little bit more. Okay, the really big question is there a relationship between gender and the type of pet that you like? Are boys more prone to like dogs, or are girls more prone to like dogs or cats? That's kind of the question here. And so we have some cumulative frequency tables, and I hope to answer that question by the time we're done talking about them. So the first cumulative frequency table was designed by dividing everything by 160 and coming up with a percent. So we can say 12% of the people surveyed were boys who liked cats. 25% of the people surveyed, that's 40 over 160, were boys who liked dogs. And 7.5% of people surveyed were boys. So there's definitely more girls surveyed than boys, and you see the 62% compared to the 37. Okay. I'm just going to go over a few more of these. 25% of the people surveyed were girls who like cats. 37.5 were girls who like dogs, and 62% of the survey were just girls. On the bottom row, we have some totals here. So this is the cat lovers were 37.5%, and the dog lovers were 62.5%. And then this is, of course, is 100% the total out of the total. So there's kind of one way of looking at things that might be of interest to somebody. It's basically just standardizing this table here and giving each item a percent out of the total. Okay, the next one's just a little different. This time we're looking at out of the total boys and out of the total girls. So that's kind of the idea. So out of the total boys, 33% liked cats, and 66 2/3% liked dogs. So we went 20 over 60 and then 40 over 60 there. We're not going 20 over 160 or 40 over 160. We're doing it out of 60. Okay, and then we can say, okay, let's take a look at the girls. 40% of the girls liked cats, and 60% of the girls liked dogs. And that 100% kind of makes sense because that's out of all the girls, all of the girls. And finally, we have down here on the bottom, 35% or 37.5% of all the people surveyed were cat lovers, and 62.5% of all the people surveyed were dog lovers. So now we can kind of start to think about this. So let's see. Let's take the first row again. Let's take the boys. We've got 66 2/3% of the boys like dogs. Okay, let's compare that to the total. This is saying 62.5% of all of the people surveyed like dogs. So do you see how there is a slight effect here? The boys are a little bit more prone to choose dogs as their favorite pet compared to the total. Now, the closer these two numbers get together right here, the closer they are together, the less dependent one is on the other. Okay, if these were both 66%, let's just pretend they are for a minute. Then what we're saying is the total number of people, the same percentage of those people like dogs as boys. So there's really no boy doesn't have any kind of effect on that. Now, the further these numbers are apart, the more likely it is that boys and dogs have some kind of a relationship there. And in this case, as this number gets higher up here, and this one gets lower down here, that means boys are more likely to like dogs. And so there's kind of a link or an association between those two variables. If you're a boy, you'll probably choose a dog over a cat. So that's called dependency, when one variable kind of determines another variable. One's dependent on the other. Independency is when they're not linked together. Independency. Let's take a look at the same scenario, maybe with this graphic over here. So we did boys who like dogs. So over here we've got, take a good look at this. You can kind of see what we're saying is this pink part right here. So out of the whole thing, so 40 out of 60, that's where we got the 66 2/3%. That's 2/3 right there. Boys who like dogs, and then we're comparing that to just out of everybody, and we're looking at the dog lovers. So we're looking at everything that's not a cat. We're looking at the 40. We're looking at the 60, so we got 100 over everybody over 160. And if these two are equal, then there's no dependency. They're independent, and there's no bearing of one on the other. So if you're a boy, it won't determine whether you like dogs or cats so much. But if there is a considerable difference here, there is a dependency, and 40 out of 60 is 66 2/3%. And then 100 over 160 is about 62.5%. So there's a slight dependency here. These numbers are off by a little bit. Well, I hope that this helps you a little bit in understanding how we can start to compare two variables using either a frequency table or a Venn diagram, or a more specific frequency table like a row frequency table or a cumulative frequency table. Thank you for listening in. Hope you have a great day. This is our last statistics lesson, so take care, and we'll see you in class.